Welcome back. Let's dive into the story of the mighty Bison and hunter Biden. In a remote savanna village, nestled between tall grasses and scattered acacia trees, the sun began its slow descent. The air, thick with the scent of rain, was heavy with the anticipation of a coming storm. Villagers scurried to secure their homes, their eyes fixed on the darkening skies above. Meantime, a hunter named Biden came to this village with his rifle resting firmly in his hands. His sharp eyes gleamed with anticipation, for he had set his mind on a hunt. Biden was known far and wide for his skill with a gun. A master of precision, he could hit a target from miles away. But today something felt different. The winds howled and the clouds gathered, dark and swollen with rain. Still, Biden's desire to hunt outweighed the threat of the coming storm. He set out toward the plains, eager to track down his prey. What Biden didn't know was that the animals of the savanna had already sensed the coming danger. They had felt the shift in the air long before the first raindrop fell. At the head of the animals was Razor, a mighty and wise bison who had lived through countless seasons of change. Razor had seen the signs. He knew that the storm would bring more than just a downpour. Floodwaters would soon rise, and the plains would become a treacherous, muddy wasteland. Razor's deep bellow echoed through the savanna, a call to arms for the creatures of the land. Elephants trumpeted in the distance, alerting the herds. Zebras, gazelles, and antelopes quickly followed suit. Understanding the urgency in Razor's commands, the animals, led by their powerful bison leader, began moving toward higher ground, away from the rising floodwaters. Meanwhile, Biden pressed on, unaware that the animals had already scattered. His eyes darted across the plains, searching for any sign of movement. The first drops of rain began to splatter on his face, soon followed by a torrential downpour. The sky darkened as thunder rumbled, and within moments the savanna was drenched. The floodwaters began creeping across the land, quickly turning the soft earth into a slippery quagmire. Despite the storm, Biden pressed forward, determined to catch something. But as the rain poured down harder, he began to realize the land was changing before his eyes. The familiar tracks he had followed for years were disappearing beneath the rising water. It was then that he noticed the faint trail of hooves, an unmistakable sign that the animals had passed through here. Driven by the need to find them, Biden followed the trail through the mud, but the path seemed to fade into the distance. He pushed forward, his gun now heavy in his hands, his frustration mounting. The storm intensified, and the floodwaters surged faster than he could keep up. Just when he thought all hope was lost, he glimpsed the silhouette of a plateau in the distance, high and dry, untouched by the floods. On the plateau, Razor stood tall, a massive figure against the storm, leading the herd to safety. The bison's thick fur was soaked, but his eyes were calm, his powerful frame unwavering. Around him, the elephants stood protectively, their trunks swaying as they settled into the safety of the higher ground. The gazelles and zebras scattered, finding refuge among the trees and rocks. Razor's presence, commanding and resolute, had ensured their survival. Biden, soaked to the bone and exhausted, reached the base of the plateau. He stood there, rifle in hand, watching from a distance as the animals settled in their safe haven. The floodwaters had nearly swallowed the plains, but the creatures were secure. Razor's leadership had guided them to safety, while Biden, a man with a gun, had been left behind, powerless in the face of nature's wisdom. The hunter stood quietly, watching the animals from afar, the storm raging around him. In that moment, he understood. The animals, led by Razor, had known far more than he ever could. Their instincts had guided them to safety, while his weapons and skill were no match for the forces of nature. As the rain continued to pour, Biden lowered his rifle and reflected on the profound wisdom of the land, realizing that sometimes the greatest strength lies in knowing when to retreat and let nature take its course. The moral of the story is that true wisdom and strength often lie in understanding and respecting nature's instincts, rather than relying solely on human power or technology. If you enjoyed the story, would you consider subscribing?